Even if you exercise every day, eat your protein, and take all your supplements, if you aren't using the right vitamins at nighttime, you will never build muscle, especially as you age. You've been told that magnesium is the key to muscle growth. Right. Well, what if I told you that's not the whole story? Forget magnesium, because in this video, we're uncovering the journey of 3 seniors who are losing hope. They discovered the 2 powerful vitamins that actually rebuild muscle overnight, and more importantly, the 3 common supplements that were secretly sabotaging their progress. Their story will change how you think about strength forever. If you're ready to learn the truth, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because tomorrow, I'm revealing a clinically proven method to increase your leg strength by 34% without a single exercise. You do not want to miss that. Now, let's begin. The Blue Ridge Mountains did not roar, they hummed. It was a low, ancient melody that vibrated through the soles of your feet, a quiet power that promised stillness to any soul troubled enough to listen. Nestled high in a secluded valley, where the morning mist clung to the pines like a soft blanket, was a place called the Summit. It wasn't a spa or a clinic, but something in between, a collection of handsome cedar cabins connected by stone pathways, all centered around a warm, inviting main lodge. It smelled of wood smoke, damp earth, and the clean, sharp scent of impending autumn. Margaret Chen was the first to arrive. Her small, practical sedan navigated the final gravel road with a precision that mirrored her personality. She stepped out, clutching a worn leather-bound journal to her chest as if it were a shield. At 72, the retired librarian had catalogued her life with the same meticulous care she had once given to the Dewey Decimal System. For the past 5 years, that journal had been a testament to her failure. Every meal, every exercise, every supplement, painstakingly recorded. And for every entry, a corresponding decline in her strength, a new ache in her joints, a deeper line of frustration etched onto her face. This retreat was her last-ditch effort, a final, desperate entry in a logbook of disappointment. Next came Harold Gable, his arrival announced by the cheerful, if slightly pained, grunt he made while extricating his 79-year-old frame from a large, family-friendly SUV. His grandchildren had insisted on driving him. Harold, a beloved history teacher who had spent 40 years making the past come alive for teenagers, now found his own future terrifyingly opaque. In his hand, he gripped a polished oak cane, a gift from his son that he had come to despise. It was a symbol of the one event he couldn't reshape with a good story: the fall. A simple misstep on his porch that had shattered his hip, and, with it, his illusion of independence. He smiled and waved at the young man who helped with his bags, his joviality a well-practiced mask for the cold fear that he might one day become a burden. The last to pull in was Gloria Vance, 81, a retired emergency room nurse who drove her own car, a slightly dented but immaculately maintained Buick. She surveyed the rustic scene with a critical, appraising gaze that had once assessed life or death situations in a heartbeat. Gloria believed in hard data, in blood pressure cuffs and lab results, not in mountain air and vague promises. She had saved lives with science, and she was annoyed that science now seemed to be failing her. Her body, once a reliable instrument, was betraying her with a slowness she couldn't diagnose or fix. She was here on a reluctant recommendation, deeply skeptical of any approach that couldn't be quantified, measured, and proven in a double-blind study. That evening, the small group of attendees gathered in the main hall. A fire crackled in a large stone hearth, casting a warm, flickering glow on the wood-paneled walls. In the center of the room stood Dr. Alistair Finch. He was a man in his late 50s, with kind eyes and a presence that was both calming and intensely focused. He wasn't the charismatic guru Gloria had expected, nor the sterile clinician Margaret was used to. He simply looked like a man who had found his purpose. He let the silence settle, allowing the crackle of the fire to become the only sound. Then he began, his voice not loud, but resonant. "Welcome to the summit," he said, his gaze moving warmly over each of them. "I know why you're here. You've followed the rules. You've eaten your proteins, you've done your exercises, and you've taken your supplements. And yet, you feel yourself getting weaker. You feel like you're losing a battle you were told you could win." He paused, letting the words land. Margaret tightened her grip on her journal. Harold shifted his weight, the handle of his cane slick in his palm. For years, Dr. Finch continued, his tone shifting from empathy to quiet conviction. You've been told to rely on magnesium for muscle health. It's the go-to advice, the first line of defense against age-related decline. But what if I told you that's, at best, an incomplete story? What if the key to rebuilding your strength isn't just what you take, but when you sleep? A palpable stir went through the small room. It was a simple question, but it felt radical. Harold leaned forward, intrigued. Margaret's analytical mind began whirring, searching for the data to support or dismiss such a claim. Gloria's skepticism hardened into a frown. It sounded exactly like the kind of unprovable, pseudo-scientific nonsense she had feared. After the session, as the others mingled with cups of herbal tea, Gloria found a quiet corner on the veranda. She pulled out her phone and dialed a familiar number. "Dr. Reed, please." "It's Gloria Vance." A moment later, a crisp, professional voice answered. "Gloria, how are you? How's the retreat?" The slight hesitation in Dr. Evelyn Reed's voice was telling. At 32, she was the bright, ambitious star of the clinic Gloria had retired from, a woman who lived by the latest studies and clinical trials. "It's rustic," Gloria said dryly. "Listen, Evelyn, this Dr. Finch just told us to forget about magnesium. He's claiming the secret is taking certain vitamins at night. Does that sound right to you?" On the other end of the line, Dr. Reed sighed softly. "Gloria, you know how I feel about these wellness gurus. The data on timed supplementation is flimsy at best. Stick to the proven science. We have decades of research on diet and exercise. Please, don't let him sell you a bottle of false hope. Just enjoy the fresh air." Gloria hung up, the conversation confirming her every doubt. The battle line had been drawn. In one corner stood Dr. Finch, with his talk of timing and rhythm and the wisdom of the body. In the other stood the established medical consensus, represented by the sharp, data-driven mind of Dr. Reed. Trapped in the middle were three seniors, each desperately searching for a way to reclaim their strength, unsure of which voice to trust. The mountain air was clean and cool, but for Gloria, the path forward had never felt so foggy. Chapter 2. The Midnight Sun Vitamin. The next morning, Dr. Finch stood before them, his presence calm and assured. "We think of vitamin D as the sunshine vitamin," he began, "but its most critical work for your muscles happens in the dark. I call it the midnight sun vitamin." He explained that while they slept, their bodies entered a crucial repair phase. Imagine your muscles are a construction site, and all the raw materials, the calcium and protein from your meals, are waiting outside a locked gate. Vitamin D3, taken with your evening meal, is the master key. It doesn't just unlock the gate, it signals the release of hormones that command your body to rebuild tissue, turning nighttime rest into a powerful muscle-building session. To bring the point home, he told them about Lars, a 6-year-old fisherman from Maine whose identity was tied to the sea. His hands, which had fought nor'easters, could no longer haul his own lobster pots, Dr. Finch said, his voice soft with empathy. He told me he felt like a ghost in his own life, watching his son do the work that had defined him. Lars was taking all the right supplements, but in the morning, I asked him to make one change. Take his vitamin D3 with his evening meal, which is naturally rich in healthy fats from the fish he ate. For 3 weeks, nothing. Then, my phone rang. It was Lars. He didn't say hello. He just said, his voice thick with emotion, "I pulled the pots myself today, all of them." He wasn't just pulling traps, he was pulling his life back from the depths. The story, raw and powerful, silenced the room. Harold saw a reflection of his own fears and a new glimmer of hope. Margaret, the logician, saw a variable she had never considered: timing. And Gloria, the skeptic, felt an unwelcome crack in her armor of doubt. An anecdote wasn't data, but the emotion in Dr. Finch's telling was undeniable. She remained unconvinced, but for the first time, she was willing to listen. The third day began with a session focused on a mineral Dr. Finch called the Guardian. If vitamin D3 is the key that unlocks the construction site at night, he explained, then zinc is the site's foreman. It's the one who tells the crew, your growth hormones, when to work and how hard. During your deepest phases of sleep, your body is ready to produce these powerful muscle-building hormones. But without zinc, the foreman, the workers stand around, confused. The orders are never given. The rebuilding stalls. He spoke of how zinc is essential for over 300 different enzymes that stitch amino acids into new muscle tissue. He made the microscopic world of their bodies feel like a bustling, intelligent, and coordinated city. Later that day, Dr. Finch held his one-on-one consultations. When it was Harold's turn, he walked into the quiet, sunlit office and sat down, placing his cane carefully beside the chair. He started with his usual cheerful banter, telling a story about his grandson's latest soccer game. Dr. Finch listened patiently, a gentle smile on his face, until Harold's voice trailed off into an uneasy silence. "You're afraid, Harold," Dr. Finch said, not as a question, but as a quiet statement of fact. The cheerful mask crumbled. The jovial grandfather vanished, replaced by a frightened old man. Harold's eyes welled with tears that he didn't bother to hide. "I dream about it," he whispered, his voice trembling. "The fall. 1 minute I was watering the petunias. The next, the world was sideways. The pain was one thing, but the look in my children's eyes. That look of pity and fear. I saw my future in their faces, Alistair. A wheelchair, a nursing home, a burden." His confession filled the small room, raw and heavy. Dr. Finch didn't offer platitudes. He simply listened, his presence a steady anchor in Harold's storm of fear. When Harold finished, Dr. Finch leaned forward. "Your body knows how to heal, Harold. It is designed to. But after an injury like yours, it needs every possible resource. Zinc deficiency in seniors is incredibly common. It affects nearly half of us, and it dramatically slows down wound healing and muscle repair. You're eating the right foods, but if the foreman isn't on the job site, the rebuilding can't happen efficiently." He wasn't offering a miracle. He was offering a logical, hopeful reason for Harold's slow recovery. He was replacing the terrifying narrative of inevitable decline with a new story of potential restoration. For the first time since his fall, Harold felt a flicker of something he thought he had lost for good: control. To anchor the idea in history, Dr. Finch later told the group a story. "A dear friend of mine is an archaeologist. A few years ago, working on a dig site in Egypt, they unearthed a set of medical tools from a physician's tomb over 4,000 years old. When they analyzed the residue on the instruments used for healing wounds, they found traces of a compound rich in zinc. The ancients knew. They didn't have the language of enzymes or growth hormones, but they knew this mineral was a guardian of the body's strength. A week at the summit felt like a month elsewhere. The rhythm of the mountains, the nourishing food, and the shared sense of purpose had begun to work a quiet magic. Margaret's journal entries, once a litany of frustrations, now contained phrases like "less stiffness this morning" and "slept for a full 6 hours." One afternoon, Harold walked the entire stone path from his cabin to the main lodge for lunch and left his cane leaning against the wall by the door. Gloria, to her own astonishment, had to admit that the persistent, low-grade exhaustion that had shadowed her for years was beginning to lift. It was on that optimistic afternoon that a sleek, dark grey SUV pulled up the gravel drive. Dr. Evelyn Reed stepped out, her sharp professional attire, a stark contrast to the retreat's rustic ease. She said she was in the area and wanted to check on her former patient, Gloria. After a brief, polite chat with the group, she pulled Dr. Finch aside. "Dr. Finch," she began, her tone professionally courteous but with an unmistakable edge. "I've been reviewing the literature. The most generous meta-analyses show only a marginal, often clinically insignificant, benefit from this kind of timed supplementation for sarcopenia. Are you sure you're not just selling these people an expensive placebo effect?" "Dr. Reed," Alistair replied, his voice calm, "your studies measure isolated compounds. They don't measure hope. They don't measure the synergistic effect of proper sleep, targeted nutrition, and a supportive environment. I'm not treating a lab result. I'm treating a whole person." "That's a lovely sentiment," she countered, "but it's not science. You're creating expectations you can't guarantee, and that can be dangerous." Gloria, who had been watching from the lodge's main window, overheard the last part of their exchange. Dr. Reed's words, so logical and evidence-based, resonated with her own deep-seated skepticism. But Harold had just walked past her, humming, without his cane. The conflict wasn't just between two doctors anymore, it was raging inside her own mind. The next morning, the mood was different. The initial optimism was now tinged with the doubt Dr. Reed had planted. Dr. Finch seemed to sense it. "So far, we have focused on what to add," he began, his expression serious. "Now, we must be brave enough to look at what to take away. For many of you, this will be the most difficult and most important part of your journey. We must talk about the nighttime saboteurs." He started with the most shocking one. The first supplement you must, under all circumstances, avoid taking in the evening is a vitamin B complex. A collective gasp went through the room. Margaret's hand flew to her journal. Harold looked confused. Gloria almost scoffed aloud. It was the one thing every doctor recommended for energy. "Dr. Finch," Margaret said, her voice tight with disbelief. "My doctor specifically told me to take a B complex for my nerve health and metabolism." "And he was right," Dr. Finch said gently. "It is essential, but when you take it, changes everything. B vitamins are stimulants. They are designed to help your body create energy. They tell your nervous system to wake up, to be alert. That is wonderful at 8 a.m. At 8 p.m., it's a disaster." He went on to explain how this stimulation can spike cortisol, the stress hormone, which actively breaks down muscle tissue overnight. He then turned his kind gaze directly to Margaret. "Margaret, you have the most valuable data in this room. You have your own history, written in your own hand. Would you be willing to share it?" Hesitantly, Margaret opened her leather-bound journal. "Read me your entry for any evening from last month," Dr. Finch encouraged. Her voice trembled slightly as she read aloud. 7 p.m. Dinner, baked chicken and steamed broccoli. 8:30 p.m. Took supplements, calcium, vitamin B complex, magnesium. 11 p.m. In bed, mind racing. 1:45 a.m. Woke up, couldn't get back to sleep. 3:30 a.m. Finally drifted off. 6 a.m. Woke feeling exhausted. She stopped, her hand covering her mouth. The entire room was silent. She flipped a page, and another. The pattern was there, on every page, for years. A meticulous record of her own unwitting self-sabotage, the years of frustration, the feeling of personal failure. It wasn't her fault. It was a simple matter of timing. "Oh my word," she whispered, looking up at Dr. Finch, her eyes shining with tears of sudden, liberating clarity. "All this time, the next saboteur is more subtle," Dr. Finch continued the following day. "It's what I call the antioxidant paradox." He explained that while vitamin C is a vital nutrient, flooding the system with it at night can blunt the natural, mild oxidative stress that signals muscles to begin their repair cycle. "Harold," he said gently, "I know you enjoy a large glass of fortified orange juice before bed, thinking you're boosting your immunity." Harold nodded. "You are, but you're also inadvertently telling your muscles to stand down right when they should be gearing up for repairs." The final revelation was aimed squarely at Gloria, and the last one, Dr. Finch said, is the most common saboteur of all: caffeine. Gloria almost laughed. "I'm a retired nurse, doctor. I know better than that. I have 1 cup of coffee at 7 a.m. and that's it." "I believe you," Dr. Finch said, "but caffeine is a master of disguise. Gloria, do you take any other supplements or drinks in the evening? Perhaps a tea, or something for energy or weight management?" Gloria froze. Her mind raced to the slimming herbal tea she drank every evening, a blend she'd been using for years, believing it helped her metabolism. She had never thought to read the fine print on the box. Dr. Finch, seeing the look on her face, didn't need an answer. He calmly pulled up an image of the tea box on the large screen in the hall. He zoomed in on the ingredient list. There, buried in a long list of herbal extracts, were 2 words: green tea extract. And in parentheses beside it, 150 milligram Caffeine. The air went out of Gloria's lungs, 150 milligrams, more than was in her morning coffee. Every single night, for years, she had been bathing her system in a stimulant while desperately trying to rest and recover. The tough-as-nails nurse, the woman of science and data, had been undone by a detail she had failed to investigate. It was a humbling, transformative blow. Her entire, carefully constructed wall of certainty crumbled into dust. In its place, a new, grudging respect for the quiet, methodical man standing before her began to grow. Dr. Evelyn Reed returned on the final day of the retreat. She had requested an open forum, a chance to present her findings and have a structured debate. She came armed with a binder full of clinical studies and a polite professional confidence. She stood before the small group and made her case. She spoke of evidence-based practice, of randomized controlled trials, of the dangers of anecdotal evidence. Her argument was logical, well-researched, and impeccably delivered. It was the voice of modern medicine. When she finished, she looked expectantly at Dr. Finch, but before he could speak, Harold Gable slowly rose from his chair. He was not holding his cane. "Dr. Reed," Harold said, his voice clear and steady, "I appreciate your research. It's very impressive. But 2 weeks ago, I couldn't walk from my car to my front door without being terrified of falling. This morning, I walked a mile on the trail by the creek. That's my data." Then Margaret stood up. She opened her journal. "For the past 7 nights," she read, "I have moved my B complex to the morning. And for the past 7 nights, I have slept through the night without waking. For the first time in 5 years. That's my evidence." Finally, Gloria rose. All eyes were on her. "I spent 40 years as a nurse," she said, her voice filled with a new humility. "I trust science, and I was poisoning my sleep every single night with hidden caffeine because I failed to read a label. Dr. Finch didn't give me a magic pill. He taught me to pay attention." She looked from Dr. Finch to Dr. Reed. "Your studies are important, but they're not the whole story." Evelyn Reed stood in the silence, her binder of data suddenly feeling weightless in her hand. She was a scientist, and the results were standing right in front of her. Humbled, not by defeat but by the clear, undeniable reality of human experience, her certainty wavered. "Alistair," she said, her tone softer now, I'd like to understand your methods better. I'd like to learn more." The conflict had resolved not in victory, but in the beginning of a collaboration. Departure day was not an ending, but a beginning. The air was filled with a sense of quiet transformation. Margaret, her journal now filled with notes of progress and plans, was excitedly telling Harold about a hiking trail she wanted to try near her home. Harold, in turn, twirled his oak cane like a drum major's baton before opening his car's trunk and placing it firmly in the back, knowing he wouldn't need it for the walk to his own front door. Gloria and Dr. Finch were talking animatedly by the lodge entrance, sketching out a plan for a free community health seminar they could run together. They hadn't just gained muscle, they had regained a sense of agency over their futures. Later that evening, Dr. Finch sat alone on the veranda, watching the last vestiges of sunlight paint the mountain peaks in shades of orange and purple. The retreat had been a success, but he knew it wasn't enough. For every Harold, Margaret, and Gloria he could help here, there were thousands more feeling lost and frustrated. He had to do more. An idea began to form in his mind, a comprehensive digital program, a guide he could share with the world. He would call it the 3 0-day muscle recovery meal plan. He opened his own research journal and began to write, filled with a new sense of purpose. As he detailed the week's events and observations, his mind made a new connection, a pattern he was seeing in some emerging data. He wrote, his pen scratching quickly across the page. "The nighttime protocol is foundational, but I'm seeing a remarkable connection in the new data, a way to increase leg strength, activating dormant muscle fibers without any exercise at all. This could change everything." Thank you for joining us on this journey at the summit. The stories of Margaret, Harold, and Gloria are a testament to the body's incredible ability to heal when given the right tools at the right time. If their journey has inspired you, I hope you'll continue to follow our work. We're dedicated to uncovering and sharing the simple, powerful truths that can help you build the strong, vibrant life you deserve, at any age. Tomorrow, we will explore the secret Dr. Finch alluded to, a clinically proven method to increase leg strength that will shock you. It's information I can only share with my subscribers first, so if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until then, sleep well and be strong. We'll see you soon.